Good morning, and everyone, welcome. We are so excited to have you guys this morning. My name is Zoe Prince, and I'm the Regional Director in the Fort Myers office with Alliant Association Management, and we're so glad you could join us today. Today's webinar is titled Protecting Your Communities, the Case for Impact Windows and Doors. As community associations continue to prioritize safety, storm preparedness, insurance considerations, and long-term property preservation, understanding the benefits and planning considerations surrounding impact windows and doors has become increasingly important. We're so excited to welcome the team from McLeod's Construction, Paint, and Restoration today. We have Eric and Kayla, who bring an extensive experience working with community associations throughout Southwest Florida. Their team specializes in helping communities navigate construction and restoration projects while providing practical guidance and solutions that support both boards and management teams. Today, they'll be sharing valuable information on the role impact windows and doors play in protecting our communities, improving resilience, and supporting long-term building performance. We hope you find today's discussion informative, encourage you to ask questions at the end of the presentation. Before we get started, we do have a little fun planned as well, and McLeod's will be giving away two $50 gift cards. So stay tuned to see who wins it at the end. So thank you again for joining us, and let's welcome Eric and Kayla from McLeod's. Take it away.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric McLeod from McLeod's Construction, Paint, and Restoration. I handle most of the operations and sales here, and along with me on the Zoom webinar is Kayla McLeod, who handles business development and marketing for our company. So I'll move on to the slides. We'll get into it, and then at the end, as Zoe said, we'll answer questions and see what comments come up. Okay. So just a brief introduction again on us, who we are. We're a local family and operated general contracting company located in Fort Myers, based out of Fort Myers. We do service the Southwest Florida region down to Marco Island, all the way up to Tampa. But as you see in the photos, it's the family. Left to right, you have my brother, my younger brother, who is Logan McLeod, handles everyday accounting, finances, and permitting. So we'll get into that with this discussion. Next to him is Lombardo McLeod, our father and owner of the company. We work every day with him. He's still heavily involved, and a lot for us to learn from him still in this tenure with him. So next to him, you also have Kayla, who I just introduced, business development and marketing, and then me, all the way to the right, Eric McLeod, operations and sales. We've completed quite a few projects over our years being in Fort Myers. We started the company back in 2005. It's 25 years of experience in this area, and then bringing more experience from New Orleans, Louisiana, where Lombardo was able to work in general contracting as well. Again, a little more about us, why McLeod's, why choose us at times for your projects, or specifically more so in these type of projects that we're going to discuss, why it's important to be with a licensed general contractor. Reason for that is because one, a licensed general contractor can do the full envelope of your building, can handle A to Z for your repairs. And in terms of what we're going to talk about specifically for windows, general contractor will more so be able to complete it turnkey, not leave it just the window installed and you have to maybe find someone else to come in and fix now the painting or the sealants for the window. And along with our work in this area, we service HOAs from condos, multifamily condos, single family, and high rises to commercial style buildings as well. So what we will talk about today and get into discussion will be about windows and doors and why they are important, why they deserve attention. More specifically, the risk involved with being in the Southwest Florida area, what we're vulnerable to, how those vulnerabilities lead to potential damages and building failures, why it's important to be proactive with these areas of your buildings or condos, and then solutions that can be provided for owners or condominium buildings so that you're protected from these type of vulnerabilities that we experience in our Southwest Florida region. As we all know, living in Florida, or more likely Fort Myers, where we're all based out of, it could be Naples or even Port Charlotte, we don't get the luxury of knowing when a storm exactly is going to come or really where it's going to make landfall when we know hurricanes are on the way. More specifically, though, we are prone to these storms or these storm-related events a good portion throughout our year in Florida, and we don't really have a break from them except in the winter. So yes, hurricanes come at a specific time in our season, but we are dealing with storm-related events, rains throughout, living in this region. And those is what makes our homes, or more specifically, windows and doors, very vulnerable when they're not being addressed or maintained. Just a little history of what we've gone through in our area. The last 5 years, we have actually dealt with 4 major storm-related events. More specifically, being Hurricane Ian, which we're still feeling remnants of to today. We're still seeing projects that had almost not even been started since Ian, unfortunately, and that have just needed the funding or just permitting. Codes have caused so much backlog that some of these areas or these locations can't even be restored. But what this is showing us and telling us is that it isn't slowing down. It looks like storms are just increasing. So now it isn't just maybe an idea of how can we prepare a couple months before. How do we plan in the long term for these storms and these hurricanes that arrive every year in our communities? And Zoe, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I'll slow it down.
No, you're
I just
doing
want to get
great.
into really
Thanks.
the meat and the potatoes.
No, you're great.
Okay, so just some photos here, different buildings, but all the same vulnerabilities with these buildings. More so what I wanted to show in these photos is the level of damage that happens once an opening gets compromised. Now, you may see, okay, well, if it's a Hurricane Ian and your roof's gone, yes, you're going to be dealing with a lot more interior damage. Essentially, the home is going to be a loss. But when it comes to a window opening and it's one that just becomes damaged or opens, that's how pressure and wind can come in and start to cause damages into the interior. And if you look at this right corner photo, or at the bottom right corner, it kind of shows you, if you look where my mouse is, this window opening more than likely allowed that wind to come in and create a havoc of damage, along with flooding, more likely in rain. But what it's showing in these photos is that storm-related damages can cause major, major damage within your condos, your interior units, and furthermore, just exacerbate the cost for these type repairs. Now, getting into really about the windows and why they're important and what we need to think about when we're going to go about these projects, whether it's a full-scale association wanting to perform the project or just one owner wanting to replace a window. And it doesn't need to be when the window's damaged or compromised. It could be just that now, hey, these windows look old. I want to get them upgraded to be impact rated, hurricane rated. Now, impact rated is a term that we use to describe a window that can take on a hurricane debris and not let the opening be compromised. That's almost the basic way I can explain it, because what happens in a hurricane is wind is driving very, very fast. Storm-related debris can float up and become a missile. That's essentially what they call it. And if this makes contact with your window and it's not impact rated, it could cause the glass to break and then allow for that storm surge or wind, pressure, and rain to enter the unit. So when you have an impact rated glass, as you see in this photo, this diagram here over the left, laminated glass, you essentially have 2 panes of glass, 2 toughened glass panes, and in the center is a film, a polyvinyl butyrol film. That film is what acts as the protector for the inside of your unit. Because what will happen is, if you see my note here, what they do in these labs before the windows are sent out for essentially for installation, they're tested. And they test them by firing 9-pound 2x4s at them at a certain speed, hurricane-related speeds, and test them to see, okay, will the 2x4 break just the first layer and the inner layer will protect the inside? If that passes, if that makes sure that that doesn't break, then that window is approved to be impact rated and meant for our area, Southwest Florida. Because specifically to us in this area, and mainly Southwest Florida and the other coast, Miami, we have to we have to follow codes for the building in terms of what they need for protection due to these high level storms and where we live in this region. Back to what I was talking about, the hurricanes. So, and with this having impact rated glass in your windows, you're able to forego a shutter. Shutters sound great, right? You may be thinking, well, I have a shutter when I leave for the storm season. I put it down and that protects my windows. And it does. It does a great job at doing that. But just like windows, those shutters need to be code compliant as well. And over time, these shutters can lose either the code, or not lose, I don't want to say lose, but won't be code compliant after the storms you've experienced that have caused the prior shutter that was code compliant to fail. Or what just needs to happen is just the useful life of the shutter is not viable, meaning maybe your mechanisms in the shutter aren't closing and opening correctly, or that it just simply is not, it's not responding. And in that, right, if we know a hurricane's coming, you have to react quick enough to get that shutter down to protect that window. When you don't have that, though, you don't have that worry of, I need the shutter to be in place. No, I know my windows are impact rated. They can withstand a large branch or something coming to hit it if that, in the event it is a very strong hurricane. And furthermore, with windows and doors, they do protect, or they help with noise reduction, and they with energy savings as well. Due to the UV coming through the window, it essentially is being somewhat blocked by this film of glass, or this film right in the middle. Essentially, think of your car window shield. When it cracks, just the exterior cracks, protecting you on the inside. So a little more, I touched a bit on the code, the building code and why it matters. Being a general contractor, we have to follow that in terms when it comes to any installations of windows or doors, and more so to the boards and to owners. If you're working with somebody who's going to go about installing a new window or door for you, more so a sliding glass door, you want to ensure that they're going through the proper procedure, that they're going to pull a permit, they're going to follow the code, and they're going to specify the correct window or door for that opening, meaning having that impact rated so that when it comes down to the inspection, the permitting officers know, okay, hey, the installer spec'd the right window, the owner's aware of that, and this window's rated for this location. And more specifically in the code down here, it requires opening protection wherever debris risk is design level. Pretty basic, almost kind of wordy term, but what it's essentially saying is that anywhere there's a risk where debris can enter and cause a certain amount of damage within a home, unit, commercial building, it needs to be protected. So pretty much any opening that we have on the exterior of your buildings, your condos, or your units. And that's what the code we have to follow for these installations. And what this means for the board. And it can be different type of projects. I know sometimes owners will take it upon themselves to install doors or windows. And then sometimes boards will say, you know what, no, we need to upgrade. We need to do all this at once so that we're all in the same package and we all get the same benefits for this in terms of potential and savings on insurance. With these style projects, though, you probably have your art details. And if you don't, that's where a general contractor, or I'll say an engineer, would help you develop those so that in the future, if someone tries to install a window down the line and it's not a part of the board's project or community effort, they have to follow that certain guideline. So, and that's a little more of an explanation down the line of projects, but I kind of want to touch that. All right, this is a very important document. Some may know what it is from prior window projects working with contractors, but this is very important. This document essentially is for the owner, for the contractor, and for the building officials, the permitting office, to know that whatever is being installed into that opening, whether it's window again or sliding glass door, that it received an NOA, or what that means, a notice of acceptance, which essentially is telling the building officials and the owner that this window is rated, has been impact rated, has been tested to withstand the environment it's going to be installed in. So our environment being prone to hurricanes, storms, heavy winds, these windows and or doors are tested to withstand those, and this document proves that. More so down here at the bottom, I highlighted a specific part in this. This has to be on site whenever the window is installed and once the inspection is occurring through the permitting office. So that permitting official can deem, okay, it was installed correctly, number one, and two, it's the correct product or specified product for our area. There are times where I've spoken with permitting officials and they've arrived and seen that, hey, this is supposed to be an impact rated window, and it was just standard glass, and essentially they have to rip it out and replace it. And how that happens, though, is essentially the NOA more likely probably wasn't provided, and they kept going on with the inspection, hoping it would work. But this is what is required for us and any other contractors installing these type of windows and doors, and my recommendation for it. And it's very important that as an owner or a condo board, you ask for these documents, or you may already know that, hey, we have these on hand, and this is what we tell owners they need to have for specific windows or sliding glass doors. So impact windows and doors, again, the different types and locations that they can be installed. What this is telling us is that at the end of the day, whether you have a window installed in your bedroom or bathroom, or a window installed along a stairwell, or a sliding glass door on your big lanai, it all needs to meet the certain code, the Florida building code, that it's impact rated, HERC rated, and has been tested for this environment. That is what is the main thing when it comes to installing these items, is we have that confirmed, and any location that goes installed is up to kind of your decision as an owner on what type of window, if you want a single double hung, as I reference here, for a bedroom or bathroom kitchen, or if you're looking for, you know what, I'd rather have a fixed window. Those don't open up in these certain areas too. And this is kind of more for boards and owners to know that when it comes to your windows and doors, you have many options to choose from them in terms of what style, frames, glass color, and even there are different amounts of impact ratings for the glass. You could have insulated laminated, and essentially that's a step up from laminated. You still have that inner layer, and then you have a space of gas in between them too. So it's a little bit more of more so people like those if it comes down to energy savings and cost, whereas the laminated impact windows that I was referencing this entire presentation is more for when you want protection and security. So what happens when we're not proactive with these windows? And when we start seeing areas start to compromise or fail, what will you notice? And I always say this when I'm meeting with owners or boards, to tell their owners, hey, look around your windows in the interior specifically. Are you noticing the baseboard or the windowsill starting to become loose or cracks forming around it? Or are you seeing little stains appearing next to the corners of your drywall by the window on the interior side? That can tell you a lot that potentially water is entering the window through the frames or even through the anchors or the track of the window. Also, on the exterior, you may notice cracks forming along the stucco, along the perimeter, or even caulking. The sealant along the perimeter is starting to fail and has cracks forming in it. By not addressing these or simply doing the maintenance over time, what happens is that you can lead to more repairs, as we all know, right? The stucco ends up cracking more, ends up delaminating a larger section. Water could then start entering into the unit, causing more repairs to the interior owner itself in terms of drywall, mold entering the unit if it's not addressed in the right amount of time. And furthermore, by not addressing these, it just leads to damages that arise now potentially to other areas of the building if you live in a condo that's high rise and you have other owners below you. So it could then end up snowballing into a different type of repair or restoration effort. And the proper way to go about these when you're doing these repairs, whether it's simply a repair around the window, if you're just removing and replacing the caulk, and I know that's not something we're talking about, but you want to ensure that everything is being done properly and waterproof so that water isn't being introduced or finding its way into these windows or doors. And here are some photos now to show briefly what you can see or what you'll expect when water intrusion is causing some issues. In this first photo here, you see that water is beginning to enter. You can't see it, but you see the mildew forming along here. You see the cracks forming along the sealant. Essentially, it's telling us something. Something's going on. And is it that water's getting in, or is it that potentially it could be that maybe the sealant was failing? But 9 times out of 10, when we come and look at this and we pull back that sealant, we can find that there's a lot of moisture that's gotten behind it. And if it's ending up being along the vertical as well, along your vertical portion of the window, that could tell you that water is entering the frames itself along the entire perimeter, rather than just being on the bottom where we know water does try to weep out at times. And if it can't, it's going to find it elsewhere to go. The second photo shows an entire front wall of a condo building stripped before performing the repairs, and it shows you how much wood damage was found, and the zip, I think they had zip wall at the time, it doesn't look like it, started to come off due to years of just water intrusion. Essentially, we were able to just take it off just with hands. In the next photo, you're seeing what I was referencing in the last slide that owners might see over time is the drywall near these windows or sliding glass doors will start to deteriorate, fail, or even the baseboard down here will start to peel off due to so much water intrusion. This right here, I remember I was part of this project. Water, and we'll show pictures on this one, water was entering the unit above, coming all the way down into the unit below, affecting the individual. And here's another photo similar to the photo that I just talked about, we're stripping the wall, but this was specific to just a window stack. And kind of just as I explained, multiple leaks were happening in these windows throughout the frames, more so specifically the bottom frame along the horizontal. And it just started snowballing down to each other owner over time. So ended up happening, the entire elevation or that entire stack had to be stripped and then move on with replacing the windows. And we'll have photos on this one as well. So just some bullet points. I'm gonna leave this slide up for a bit to kind of talk on each one. Do these items describe your community? And there's multiple of them, and you're probably like, well, all of them do, or definitely we probably are older buildings, 20 to 30 plus years. The main ones, in my opinion, that stick out to me is the coastal exposure. If you're along the coast and you're dealing with that salt-driven air coming towards your buildings, that can exacerbate or increase the likelihood of water intrusion and potential windows being compromised or sliding glass doors. Another area are your mid and high rises. Owners all the way at the top may replace their windows to be large fixed windows, or more specifically, big lanai and balcony sliders. You may have units that have sliders along their lanais, not the sliding door that gives you access to the lanai, the sliding glass door that sits on the lanai itself, that gives you more space to use the lanai if you wanted to for the interior. Those areas there cause a lot of issues because if they're not addressed properly, not waterproofed and sealed, essentially water is going to enter into that unit below. And what I always tell, again, owners and boards to tell their owners, look around your lanai ceilings if you're underneath someone. Check to see if cracks are forming. Check to see if cracks are forming along the vertical face of the deck edge where the lanai may sit. If there's a slider above and you're seeing cracks form down there, more likely it's probably caused by water intrusion from that slider. Maybe water is not able to drain out, or water is getting into that track and sitting in there long enough to penetrate the concrete. So again, with these multiple points, if you're dealing with maybe 2 out of 3 of them, I would say you might want to start looking into, hey, how can we prepare for one of these projects for our windows and doors? Or at least who can we start speaking with to get a plan in action, and what type of products do we need to have installed in these areas? By performing these repairs, replacements, and installations, you will have benefits to the owners. And more so, what this brings is lower energy bills. And also you can have better insurance on these because you'll be able to provide to your insurance agent that, hey, we did a replacement, here's the NOA, here's what the contractor installed. They'll take that on and they should be able to work with you and give you savings on the insurance. We've had that done multiple times at communities and it's worked out pretty well. Impact glass can provide a quieter home. It reduces the noise quite a bit. It's going to give a little more UV protection because of that inner layer film that I explained. That's going to block some of the sun's rays coming into your unit. And also that leads to the energy bill, keeping the UV out. Stronger resale value because you'll be able to prove that, hey, these windows for my unit or my home are hurricane rated. They can withstand a storm. Better security. We all know we want that, to know that our window can withstand something happening in the middle of the night, potentially. And then peace of mind. Because now you know, hey, one, I'm ready for a storm. I don't need to have a shutter down, or don't need to make sure I put a shutter down before I leave during hurricane season. And I know that my windows are ready for it. So by being proactive, performing these items, it does lead to more money back to the individual, but over time, peace of mind and longevity of your units and the surrounding substrates. Just some photos now again of projects and kind of explaining how this one in particular was an association effort. Essentially, I talked about this one a couple slides back. The windows are all leaking on top of one another into the units, leading to full-scale restoration of the walls in terms of needing to remove the windows, replace the windows, and then followed by installing brand new stucco around the windows as well, rebuilding essentially the wall. And if you look in this photo here, he's water testing the window to ensure that when we installed it, no water is entering. And that's something we take upon ourselves to always do when these windows are installed, is to do a final water test of the perimeter to ensure that no water is entering the frame at all. And if we find it, well, then we know we need to fix something or something's going on. But very important to water test your windows upon installation to know that, hey, it was installed correctly and I shouldn't deal with any wind-driven rain once a storm comes. This project was over, I want to say, yeah, see right here, around 60 PGT impact windows, all hurricane rated, and completed in the year 2018. And we are still doing work for these buildings in this community in Wedgwood and Bonita Springs. And tell you that the windows all successfully withstood Ian when it came to it. And although that was 2018, 4 years later, the windows were still able to withstand a storm of that level. And what happens though, and I'll touch briefly on before going to the next one, is that over time, codes will change. What will happen probably another 10 years is they're going to say, okay, nope, now windows need to be rated for this type of storm or this type of winds or pressure. So as storms get stronger, as they develop and increase, so do our codes, and things are constantly changing. Another project, and this is more so about how if one unit's leaking into itself, how it can cause leaks below. The photo all the way to the right that says new impact window installed. We didn't install this window, but I was called to this site because the owner below was dealing with cracks all in her drywall ceiling, the walls, and then noticing essentially the drywall started to turn into like a powder. As we took a look at it, we said we were going to probably need a water test her windows to see what's going on. But given the location of this crack, it looks to us that, hey, if her window is here, how could water be entering and going back up? Water doesn't do that. It's going to find its least path of resistance and go down more likely. So we decided then to take a look up, and we could tell, hey, it looks like a new door, and you can see it here. They're currently installing it. So I went up, talked with them, and said, hey, so did you guys notice anything on the frame? Any cracks or anything? Oh, no, nothing's wrong. No, it's fine. We just put a ton of caulk, put a 2x4 down, and put the frame and put the door right on top. Well, essentially now we can't see what's going on, but we know that then that's where the issue came from. Furthermore on this now, this is talking about hiring the correct contractor to install these windows and doors. If you look here, you can see that a piece of stucco is missing. You can't see it all the way, but if you were to zoom in, it actually shows exposed corner beam. And over here, again, exposed corner beam. And being up close on and we're on the lift, we could tell the sealant around this new sliding glass door was done, but not in the best way, because essentially this crew was installing the door without a lift, doing it from the inside. So if we think about this, how are you going to seal the window from the inside if you're not on a lift on the outside, able to work properly, safely, and get it done? So this is where I explain that anybody can come and install a window, but how are they going to install it, and what are they going to do at the end of it to make sure it's installed correctly? Essentially, I talked to them and said, hey, are you guys going to do the stucco, butt up the sealants, and paint it? They said, no, that's not what is on our contract. We just install the window. So now I have this owner had to find somebody else to come now and fix the stucco on the outside, paint it, and fix the drywall on the inside, because all they were going to do is just install that window. But they're not going to address the points that we're talking about here in terms of making sure that it's watertight, not letting water get in, and ensuring that, one, I'm sure it's impact rated door, this community wouldn't have allowed that. But since you're spending all this money to get the door in, it needs to be done in the correct manner and essentially turnkey for the owner, so you're not having to worry about something down the line. So in terms of this window and this sliding glass door now being installed somewhat correctly, still water is going to be able to enter in and affect that owner. So at the end of the day, we had to send a report, let them know that, hey, the unit above, they may need to do some more waterproofing to the door to ensure that the water won't go into this unit below. We were able to fix everything for her, and I think they got the above unit addressed as well. But this is what happens, though, when owners take it upon themselves to install these items, they don't notify the board maybe and just run with it, right? And I know in some communities, you have to tell the board or your association or your management, I'm going to install a window. Here are the details. And then I think an ARC form is sent, and you have to go through all that to make sure that you're installing the correct item specified by your management and association. This one now is more so just a replacement project. An owner wanted to have her windows replaced. They were slider windows, actually, was kind of old school. How they were configured. Essentially, the whole window is able to open. But this is almost more of a custom type art job because of the arch. Upon removing it, we had to ensure that the arch could be built back correctly and ended up actually framing repairs. And this owner wanted specific type window too. You can't see it because this side, or you can see it a little bit, but this is where explaining that as an owner, you have many options for your windows in terms of the glass color, in terms of the framing color. This owner wanted a bronze on the exterior, which you can see here, and you can kind of see it vaguely white on the interior. She wanted a two-tone window for her unit. So we were able to accomplish that, install the window, waterproof it, permitting inspection was performed, everything was installed correctly and deemed appropriate for this opening. And more specifically is these stickers here are very important. Again, this is another area that when the inspection happens through the building officials, the permitting officials, they're going to look at these stickers to ensure, again, just like the NOA, that everything matches and it's rated for our environment and is the correct window for this opening. So how to go from here and what to do. You need to have a clear path, right, in terms of how we're going to go about these projects and leading down the line in savings. They're not going to happen overnight. These are large scale projects that do require a lot amount of moving parts and a lot of communication. More so in terms of speaking with the entire community, letting them know what you're going to expect when it comes to a window or sliding glass door project. So first, we have to assess everything, assess the site, make sure that everything is logistically, one, we can accomplish, and two, is right for the board and the community. From there, we want to specify the correct product, what works well for the board, what do owners want. There's probably going to be votes going on. I know that takes time, but that's how we make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of what frame we're ordering, what color is the glass, what strength is the glass. Because like I said, you have impact rated and you then have insulated impact rated glass too. From there, then we have to file for permitting. This is where it takes time. After you are able to confirm what windows you want, you sign with the contractor. They're going to go through the permitting process. Permitting can take anywhere from quickly to 2 weeks, all the way to about a couple months. So that's where the limbo usually happens in terms of making sure that everything is correct, because the permitting office has to go through each document that we send per the window and the location so that they can confirm that we're doing our job correctly too. And then you can perform the installation, the project. And at this portion, again, I suggest that you meet with the contractor and perform it as a town hall with everyone so that owners know that, hey, there's going to be a period of time where I'm not going to have a window. I'm not saying for a long period of time, but they're going to come in my unit potentially. They're going to have to take out the window, install the window back, and do some repairs along my interior of the unit too before they can close it out. And a lot of times I've come to projects or seen someone's talking about a job and had no idea that, yeah, the contractor's going to need to enter the unit to finish the window. Because as we like to install windows is finish the drywall, paint it, and it's done. So that the owner doesn't need to call someone again to come back and have to paint it and just do the small repair after the fact. And then at the end is the closeout. Provide the warranties, send all the documentation to that owner or to the association showing everything that was done so that those savings can come down for the communities. And now next steps, now we're on the last slide. I feel like I ran through that. I apologize if I did, but here's now how we can move forward. And I know I was referencing whoever you call, this is how you should go about the work in my opinion. But if you would like to meet with us, here's our emails at the bottom right here, Eric and Kayla. I have no problem walking with tons of owners, walking with the whole board and explaining these types of scopes and what's needed for these different areas in terms of windows and doors. We can work together and speak and get proposals going and then plan for the project down the line. But more so, not really talking about trying to send a proposal or let's plan the project. I was more so getting the information to you and so that you understand, okay, when do we need to pull the trigger on this stuff and when and what do we need? Because this isn't something that should be discussed once or twice, and then signed proposal and let's plan the project. In my opinion, this involves a lot of moving parts. It brings owners into the projects, and that's why they should be a part of these discussions too, so that everyone knows what's going forward, what's about to happen. Because I can tell you, I'm on a project right now. It's going very well. We started back in January of 2025, and it's just grown. It's an engineered job, a milestone job, 7-story buildings, 3-story high rise. Essentially, we had to do a lot of restoration, but what came up to the owners, they said, can we have the opportunity to replace our windows and sliding glass doors? We said, yes, this is the perfect time because we're going to have lifts on site. This is when we can perform them and make sure that everything's done correctly. So there are ways, there's other times too where you can maybe figure out, okay, we can actually move it up because we're going to be doing a large scale project. The contractor that's coming out is going to have the equipment for it. Why not start this process now for our owners, or at least start budgeting for it? And I know bylaws are different where sometimes, I'm pretty sure probably most of the time, the association is not responsible for the window or sliding glass door. It's more on the owner. But that doesn't mean a whole project can be performed for the association, involving all the owners as well. So I thank you for your time. I know there's probably some questions as I ran through it a little bit, in my opinion, but I'm willing to answer some questions right now and see what responses I can provide.
Thanks, Eric, so much. So we've gotten a lot of feedback so far that this is very informative presentation and people are really thankful for it. So we do have a few questions that have come through in the chat that I'm just going to read out so that you can answer them, and I'll hit answer live on the panel. But basically the first question is, isn't polyvinyl butyrol what is being removed from all plumbing pipes because they are degrading?
I can look it. I don't know the answer specifically for that, but when it comes to, let me go back to that slide. So this layer here, it may be in those scenarios with plumbing, it could be in that aspect, that yes, something is failing with this, but when it comes to the windows and door, or with the windows, I haven't seen any literature that's saying this stuff is failing and they're having to replace it. Where issues do arise, though, I'll say, is that a lot of people like the term insulated laminated glass. Like, oh, this is great. This is the best glass you can get. It is good because it's going to give you both best of both worlds. You get the impact rate in this, and then you get the energy savings from the insulated portion. But what happens in the insulated glass is that gas, if those seals on those gaskets aren't done perfectly at times in the shops, but before they come to us, over time those seals begin to fail very minimally, and that gas seeps out, and that's where you start to notice foggy windows around your glazing. That's something I've seen that happens with insulated a lot, and I try to stay away from those types of installs because those are the ones you do, I'll say, callbacks happen, and we have to kind of explain, bring in the reps from PGT or Anderson or these other manufacturers, and having to explain that. But I have not seen anything about it in terms for the windows, but I will look into that. It's interesting.
Awesome. So another homeowner asked, like, when you do projects a lot, what do the warranties look like?
So yes, for us, McLeod's, we'll supply a 3-year warranty minimum for any of our installations. Obviously outside of, storm-related events and all that. But and then from the manufacturers, we provide their warranties, their guarantees. Now, when it comes to the manufacturers, what I've seen working with them, they'll generally come out, take a look, and if it's a true glass replacement or something's failing with the window, they'll handle it. But 9 times out of 10, I've seen that as being the contractor, we're going to step up and handle the issue if something happens. Now, if it's something to deal with the frame and the glass specifically, we're going to catch that well beforehand and have the reps come in and fix that, or the manufacturer. But when it comes down to warranty with the manufacturers, it's kind of, how can I say, it's almost like it's very situation dependent, because they either come out and take a look, or we'll just know, no, McLeod's, we'll just handle it and speak with PGT or the manufacturers to come down and help us with the type of warranty claim.
Awesome. Thank you. So another question is, so these windows, they give a stronger protection against all aspects of a hurricane as like the roll down shutter?
Yeah, so that's will they are they functioning almost like the shutter? Is that the question almost?
I think so. Like, yeah, the roll down. Like, are the
Yeah,
windows
so again on this slide, yes, by having the impact rated glass, it essentially is acting like the shutter. Now, some people have impact glass and a shutter, they want the most protection, but how you can look at this is that if you think about it like this, shutters over time, maybe we aren't maintaining them, having them inspected regularly and all that. But the time we do need them to work and they're not operating, now we're trying to figure out what to do. So the window replaces that entire aspect of needing it to operate a shutter and still provides the protection. If anything, in my opinion, I think it provides even more protection because now what a shutter, if you go and look at a shutter that's installed, the older ones more specifically too, is they're driving anchors into the wall along the vertical so that shutter can roll down. So those anchors over time will become loose, will start to let water in, and then that top frame, your top box where that roll down comes out, essentially is like a shelf. So water starts hitting that, getting behind it. Again, that can lead to interior type damages. So in my opinion, I think shutters actually can sometimes introduce water sooner rather than later around your windows. So I digress. Impact window will act as the shutter and replace it.
awesome? So, do you do the insulation behind the stucco band or into the side window sill?
More likely into the stucco band, depending on how it was installed, right? We had to look at the instruction or the construction in the opening, but we're going to try to get it flush within that stucco so that we can, because what happens is before that window gets installed, we're going to waterproof the rough opening, essentially so that water can't get in and protect the window even more. There's more technical terms with it, but the waterproofing product we use is called Prosoco, and it's spelled Prosoco, almost like Prosecco. But Prosoco, how it acts is it's a waterproofing product along the rough opening frame. And just like how I was explaining, the windows tested in this section here with a 9-pound 2x4 fired at it, what they do in the lab for this product, they'll put the window frame with the glass, right? They'll test it with plus 200 mile per hour winds. What actually ends up happening, and this is scary, right? We shouldn't hopefully ever see this. The frame stays intact, but the glass actually starts to go. So what it tells you is that this waterproofing is so strong that you're not going to lose the window's not coming out. Now, the glass may, if we have very, very high winds to the point where we've never seen the likes of before, but it's just showing that testing capabilities and how high the wind would have to get to for that to happen. So in terms of our installations is we really kind of beef up that install so that there's really peace of mind for that owner.
Thanks, Eric. So we do have another question that just came in. Do screened-in lanais in condos that have a storage door on the lanai require an NOA door?
In that area, I would say no. Given what type of door it is, it's mainly just a storage. It's not protecting the interior of your home, right? It's not protecting the interior of a unit per se. So that door is mainly just a service door. In my opinion, it wouldn't need it, but a great question and something we'll look into. But we've done replacements of storage doors and hadn't seen the permitting office tell us, hey, this needs to be impact rated or hurricane rated. More so when it comes down to those doors, like if you have, say, a service door that's to your electrical room or elevator room, those have to be a certain rated, impact rated, and be able to withstand a storm because we can't if water gets in, it needs to be able to come out, or if a fire happens, there needs to be a vent. But more so with those, I do not think that's the case. And more so with your sliding glass door that's protecting the interior of your unit. So just back to this slide here, right? Florida Building Code, any opening that any opening that could cause or lead to debris entering and causing design level damage, essentially causing damage enough to the home, needs to have the correct protection. If it's a storage on your interior and your lanai and it's all it is a closet, I would think that code doesn't apply to it. But each county though reads it differently, and that's where things are different. What they do in Collier is different than what they tell us to do in Lee County. So that's where again though you have to respect the permitting office and what we do as a general contractor before we even order your window, before we even order the window, we speak with the permitting office and say, hey, this is what window we have specified for this opening. Will this work? Or essentially, we're asking for their permission. When we word it like that to them, they generally give us good feedback and say, yes, you're good to go, or no, you need to use this one instead in lieu of that. Or sometimes they'll even work with us. They'll say, yes, it does work in this area. You could use this instead, but we appreciate the follow-up and giving us the heads up, right? So again, back all the way to the question though, I would think not that that door needs to have an NOA for installation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you want to slide to your very last slide with your information on there one last time so we can leave that with the board members that are present here today. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for doing this for us today. And we do have put it in the robot, and it pulled out some names for your gift cards. And what I'll do is I'll pull their contacts, get that over to you so you can get them their gift cards. But I want to say congrats to a Cindy Blanchard and Virginia Whalen on your win. So thank you all of us, everyone who attended today, and to McLeod's construction, paint, and restoration. We really, really thank you for your time. And this was a really good webinar that taught us some things that we don't get to be educated enough on.
And if any more questions come up, you have my email and you have Kayla's, or if you didn't write it down and missed it, forget it, email them to Zoe and she'll send them right on to me. We can get them answered for you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you guys for all of you attending today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you. Everybody have a good one as well.
Thank you so much, Eric, Kayla.
Thank you.